Evening, everybody. My name's Jeremy. I work for BBC News, and I'm going to talk about a piece of work we're doing at the moment to try and change how we go about publishing the BBC News website. I'm sure you're all familiar with this site. It's the most used UK news website. It gets up between 6 and 8 million users a day, and yet for all that, it hasn't actually changed very much for the past 17 years. It was first published in 1997. Have I got my sums right there? I haven't, have I? Anyway, some years. We're moving to a dynamic site, so we're in the process of going responsive, going to new templates, and crucially moving away from flat page publishing, because right now the BBC desktop site is still a collection of millions of flat pages. And we're introducing linked data. Linked data internally, this isn't the kind of, Tim Berners-Lee vision of the open semantic web, nice stuff. This is mostly just us trying to get a bit smarter with the stuff that we've got in-house. So we're annotating the content that we produce with real-world concepts. And this works through journalists tagging content using the tools that they're already using. We try and add a little bit of subtlety to the way that tagging works through asking them to specify a predicate. They can say that tagging the content is about the concept or mentions the concept. The concept could be a person, an organization, or a place. So we ran a pilot with some of our local news indexes. The screen you're seeing here is the Birmingham local index, and you're seeing a dynamically generated index of content that's about stories that took place in Birmingham. Well, what did we learn from that pilot? It worked, kind of, except for the fact that what we tend to do when there's a big story is we write lots of articles about that story. We don't write a single article and update it. We write a new one and another one and another one. Slide's gone a bit crazy there, but that's me Googling for Edward Snowden's asylum bid and scoping the search to just BBC News website results. And I found about 600 articles that all told that story in a very kind of fragmented way. So what we're after is moving to away from these static articles and towards something that lets us tell stories dynamically, using this linked data technology. So abstracting the story as a concept, like a person or a place or an organization, and using that to annotate the content so that the content can then be aggregated by that story in chronological order, a sequence of updates, if you like. So what you're seeing here is some of the Edward Snowden content that we produced, but instead of it being kind of scattered around the web separately, it was put together and ordered by that concept. So we collaborated with a wire service, Press Association, with The Guardian. We had some help from Google and from our R&D colleagues in the BBC. And we developed this model called Storyline, which we published. It's at pearl.org/storyline. There's loads of documentation there. Have a read if you're interested in this kind of stuff. But the fundamental point of the model is to do two things, I think. To be able to aggregate content, as I've described, but also to allow journalists to tell stories in a much more joined up way than they currently do through flat HTML pages. So in its most simple use case, we can annotate content with topics. So we can say this article, this piece of video is about David Cameron, the Conservative Party, what have you. In the same way, we can annotate content with a storyline. So we can say that this piece of content is about David Cameron's visit to such and such a place, those kinds of things. Taking that a stage further, we can then annotate the storyline with more topics. So instead of saying this article is about Birmingham, because usually articles aren't about Birmingham, they're about stuff that's happened in Birmingham or wherever. So this is showing a graph that annotates the storyline concept with people, organizations, places, themes, intangibles, what have you. So that gets you quite a long way and takes us away from the sort of static publishing that we've been doing so far. But we can do more, I think. What you're seeing here is what inside the BBC is called the special report. And we do these for stories that we feel have sufficient editorial importance. And instead of just a sort of typical BBC model of reporting the facts and being impartial, we allow our correspondents to go into a bit more detail around the storytelling. We investigate causality, do analysis pieces, background, identify key moments, even a little bit of data visualization, start to look at public data sources and verify them and do the usual journalistic procedures and publish them. This is all done manually, and it's an extremely labor-intensive process. So using the storyline model, we can automate that kind of relationships, the expression of the relationships between those content into a narrative that has a particular attribution. So it could be, this is Jeremy Bowen's history of the Syria crisis as opposed to someone else's. And we hope that through that, and through working with journalists to use that storyline model, we should be able to unlock some of the data contained inside BBC News. Not so much data-driven journalism, but journalism itself as data, and trying to capture some of the institutional memory of the organisation. Thank you.